What would Bullet's moveset look like? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Douglas Bullet, the demon heir himself from the film One Piece Stampede. Now as we progress with this series, I'm going to kind of maybe come up with a pattern that's like, movie character, then like, an anime character, a manga character, movie character, anime character, because I feel like it's a good pattern and I don't have to burn out all the, cool anime characters right up front, and also get to talk about the movie stuff, which is a little easier because it's all contained to one place rather than me looking through the manga or games and stuff like that, which, obviously Bullet is in a couple games. I believe he's in Treasure Cruise, obviously in some gacha games and stuff. So, but above all else, Douglas Bullet himself is a pretty cool character. Now, obviously he's not the deepest character. I feel like that wasn't his intention for Stampede. Obviously his whole thing was, I'm gonna be the strongest. Whoever's the strongest is the Pirate King. If you can't beat me, like, you'll basically never be Pirate King, which is kind of crazy in hindsight because obviously this movie came out around the time I believe that Snake Man like had debuted, so we hadn't seen, I think, Advanced Conquerors Hockey and all that stuff. So it's kind of crazy to think that Luffy potentially could rock Bullet in base form now, judging by the way he can fight Kaido's hybrid form in base form. And you can, I feel like it's obvious to think that Kaido's stronger than Bullet, and Bullet got beat by Gear 4, like Bound Man. So it's kind of crazy to think that in hindsight, but regardless, Bullet is a really cool, like, obviously, he's a character all about these two things. So even though he's about them hands, Bullet is an extremely fast character. So as we go into the first section of 3 sections in these videos, the what type would he be section, I feel like it's obvious that Bullet will be a speed type. Now, the reason I say this is because, I mean, just look at these clips that I'm playing from the actual movie. He is a big dude, right? But that doesn't really matter in the One Piece world. You could be giant like Kaido or whatever, and then be like speed blitzing characters like Luffy, who is extremely fast in like Gear 5 and Gear 4, like Snake Man and all that stuff. But, the fact that Bullet was blitzing, and I mean blitzing the supernovas the way he did, like, he just manhandled all of them. He like was so fast, Luffy didn't even notice he got punched. He was so fast, like, he grabbed 2 of their heads and just slapped them together. Like, he is beyond like speed, so he is extremely fast. And if a character like Katakuri can be a speed type regardless of how tall he is, I feel like making Bullet a speed type will, for me at least, work. Now, it's obvious to go with maybe a power type as well, and I'm sure he could work as a power type as well. But I don't know, I just feel like the way, before he transforms into like the big robot mech and all that stuff, I just feel like the way his power is displayed is so overwhelming with just pure power, but above all else, how fast he can hit you. Now, I'll get into a form change a little bit later, into what other type he could be when it comes to that form change, but we'll get to that when we get to the special moves. So getting into combos, now it's a bit interesting because Bullet is not the most, what'd you say, creative type of character when it comes to how like his moveset kind of works. It's very, Unga Bunga is the best way to say it. He very much just punches a lot. He's very, I don't know if you want to call him like a wrestler type, but you can argue that because, I mean, he tackled the hell out of Apu. Like, he just linebackered his ass. So, you could argue that he is pretty, like, wrestler type. So you can maybe think of a character like Garp when it comes to moveset. Like, obviously, of course, when it comes to Pirate Warriors 3, where Garp had like suplexes and, he grabbed you from the leg and, swung you in a tornado, creating like a, mini tornado vortex thing. It's very fun. But obviously, I think I would lean for like a mix of Garp and a character like Lucci, because Garp obviously has that Unga Bunga strength, but compared to how the way Bullet looks in the movie, Bullet uses Geppo, Sodu, and all that stuff. So obviously not the whole, like, 6 powers, but he does use like a couple of them. So it'd be cool to like see how they implement that into his moveset to make him more, I guess, fast, or like maybe he does like a lot of like, speed blitzing. Maybe he creates tornadoes like on some Zangief stuff. Like, he just twists and flexes his muscles so hard he creates tornadoes, creating some cool combo strings. But I do think his combo game would be pretty cool and pretty similar to that. Obviously, you could throw Sanji in there because Sanji, of course, uses Geppo as well. So seeing how those 3 work, I feel like that would be an idea on how Bullet would look. Again, not much to say with how you know, he's not very unique when it comes to his base form. He really literally just punches and grabs people a lot. You know, obviously he has Conqueror's Haki, but there's no Conqueror's Infusion. Obviously, at least at the time, we didn't know if there was, but I doubt it. Now, things could get a little bit more interesting if they include the Gasha Gasha no Mi or the Clank Clank fruit in the dub, because it's a fruit that allows him to be like an assimilation human, which, you know, at least in the movie, he basically disassembled and reassembled the submarine that had a bunch of weapons on it to make this thing called the Union Armada, which was like this, you know, big mech. Then obviously when with his awakened Devil Fruit obviously abilities, he combined himself with, you know, the earth and assimilated the island onto his powers as well. So, you know, he has a ton of stuff from that. Obviously he has more so like just kind of like cannon hits and more like big punch hits and hockey hits, but you know, you can probably incorporate some of that, maybe even make him a technique type if you want to do that. Like the more stuff you assimilate potentially, then the bigger like your attacks will be. So maybe you have a level 0 assimilation for Bullet, but then what if you know, and you do a simple punch, but then if you level up to level 3 assimilation or something, or level 4, then instead of having the full mech come out, because I don't think that would be an awakening. They could do it, but I wouldn't. My awakening or my form change would be something different. But if they want to incorporate like the robot form, what they could do is like, oh, at level 3, this combo string turns into this, where you know how in Pirate Warriors 3 Garp has the Fist of Love, where the fist comes out of nowhere. What if with this at level 3 a big hand comes out, like, you know, the cannon hand comes out from the ground or whatever, and then it shoots a cannonball and it does a big explosion or something, right? Like, you know, or he's about to punch, but instead of a normal, like, you know, hockey coated punch, the big robot hand comes out and does a punch finisher for that combo string, right? So kind of like Eneru, how Eneru has different levels of his lightning abilities depending on what level you are at. So I think that could be, you know, an interesting aspect to his character, which honestly, instead of being a speed type, could make him into a technique type. But just because he's, you know, has this mechanic doesn't mean he can't be a speed type, right? So I think that just would be a very interesting mechanic to add to his combo strings, because to me his base form is a little too vanilla, right? It's a little too just, you know, Unga Bunga, too just punchy, right? So I think adding this Gasha Gasha no Mi element to it could be pretty cool for him. Alright, moving on to the juicy stuff. So we're talking about special attacks now. Now obviously every character gets around 6 to 8 special attacks. So I could see them doing a full 8, or maybe if they don't have enough, at least for, you know, the game developer side, if they don't have enough, that they could maybe limit it to like 6 or something. But I have a couple here that I could throw out there that could be a little bit fun. Obviously the first one, you know, taking up a slot is going to be the full force burst. To nobody's surprise, we have that. Obviously every character in, you know, in Pirate Warriors 4 has this, you know, special attack. The next one I have is obviously his Conqueror's Haki. Obviously, very epic and cool moment. Again, I would hope if they, as the other Haki users, I would hope that they would change the look of the Haki rather than it just being the stare. I wish it would be like the way he kind of looked, where like he kind of looked like a demon with the red mouth and red eyes and stuff like that. But I don't know if they would do that, but you know, I digress. But he still would have the Conqueror's Haki stuff. So the next one I have is pretty fun. Okay, so in Pirate Warriors 3 they have Garp throwing like a giant, like, you know, the oversized iron ball, and he might get that back if data mines are correct about his character being in character pack 3 for this next, or character pack 6 I believe. So if he's going to be in character pack 6 for this next season pass, I kind of would hope in a way that they re-include that giant oversized ball special, because it's so funny. And in that same vein, what if they gave Bullet one where he literally just, a boat spawns out of nowhere and he throws it at you? Because it obviously is that moment from Stampede where, you know, everyone's on the island. I think it was Buggy that was about to open the chest, and he opens it, he sees the, you know, the log pose or whatever, the returner pose to Laughtail, and then we cut to Bullet throwing a boat full of explosives with one hand or whatever, and the boat just blows up the entire island, right? So I think that could be a cool special and a fun one. Okay, so here's another one where I'm thinking they could implement to the whole, maybe the Gasha no Mi like mechanic that I was thinking about, but they could have his robot form come out and do, like, you know, there's a big like hockey punch that he did against like Luffy and them when he basically first knocked them out before Usopp came and saved Luffy, because, you know, he basically is in the big robot and then he coats the robot's arm in hockey, and then he punches the hell out of Luffy, like one big punch, and it like blows up the ground. So maybe there's a special where he hops into the robot, does that, and then he hops out. Now I know a lot of you guys aren't fans of at least Carrot was like that, where Carrot would go into her Sulong form and then pop out. But it's because I have a different idea for the form change, and obviously the big robot would probably be a better maybe form change in hindsight, because obviously they could just minimize the robot, make him fit in the map and everything like they do with Kaido. But I just think of the when we get into the form change, which I might as well get into it now, I think he will have a form change into the like weird blue form that he gets when he's fighting right at the end of the film, where he's just giving hands to Luffy, and he just has like this weird like coiled like arms, and he's all blue. I think that'd be a cool form change, because then that would change his typing to Sky type, obviously because of Geppo and all that stuff. Now we obviously have the R1 circle or whatever, the circle slot being the cancel of the form change. Then you have, I feel like one slot would clearly be the, I believe it was like the ultimate strike or something. It's like a interesting name. I can't even pronounce it properly, but I'm showing it on the screen. And this is basically the move he used to clash with like Luffy when Luffy did King Kong Gatling. So I think that'd be pretty cool if he does that as a special attack. And while in this blue form, you could probably include the the ultimate fist, which is like him in the giant form. Maybe it could be another thing where like he like projects the fist, kind of like the way Garp does the Fist of Love. Again, like I mentioned a lot, because the problem with Bullet is that he does give a lot of hands like on his own, but for like basically a good chunk of the movie, he turns into the robot form, and then he also turns into the giant like island form, right? So you have to kind of think about how to include all of that stuff while also trying to scale him down to Pirate Warriors 4. And I know there's a character like they have the NPC of Pika running around that I believe you can fight, but it doesn't really do much. So if they really do want to include the giant island form of him, they could make him like that, where he's very small and you kind of just drag yourself along the ground. But I don't think it'd be very much fun to be able to do that, unless they do an interesting mechanic where like you control the actual like map areas or something when you do that. Again, I feel like that's a brand new mechanic. They could do that, but I feel like they may save something that drastic for like a future game maybe. But I feel like the only way to include those big forms things is to minimize them and do them in a scale where it's kind of like a stand from JoJo. So like they could do ultimate fist, but it'll be like a projection, or like just a hand will come out and punch the enemies forward. And then for his last special in this form, I feel like they could just do a mixture of just him giving like Luffy the work in the sky. Let's do like a kind of like a sky blitz attack, because all the attacks don't have to be giant cinematic attacks, right? They all can be simple like flurry attacks, or like something a little bit more technical with involving like cannon fire or something like that, or maybe just like a simple like punch or something, or kicks. Luffy has a lot of attacks that are a lot simpler than they are. Like he has like Jet Stamp Gatling as one of his specials in his base form, which isn't really anything too crazy. It's a good like area attack, but it doesn't do a lot of damage, right? So it'd be pretty cool if they include some of that stuff for that. So jumping back to base form Bullet, a couple more specials that I have is one where they could, if they could include the speed blitzing that he gave to all the supernovas. I think that'd be a really fun way to do that. Again, like I mentioned earlier, him tackling Apu, again, that could be a combo string, but it could also be a special, maybe a bigger range of effect. Maybe he tackles, but then he does like, I don't know, like a suplex kind of taken from Garp's page, and then that does like massive shockwave damage around him. So it could be something interesting like that. Now I don't recall this being a type of special in the game. And I know they have healing special attacks, like Katakuri can eat donuts, but it'd be cool if Bullet had a damage taken special attack. So like instead of healing, he would just kind of stand there and eat all the attacks, making his attacks stronger afterwards, because I feel like that's a big part of Bullet's character, especially with the Supernova fight, where he's just showing them how much stronger he is to them. He is outclassing all of them. Like he gets hit by Killer in the cheek, I believe, and it's just like hockey coated. He counters Luffy and Kid's attack. He takes all these attacks. He gets a Red Hawk. He gets hit by the King Cobra. All of these things, like nothing really damages him, basically till like the end where Luffy's in Bound Man, because I feel like most of us know that Snake Man is probably weaker than Bound Man. So the fact that Snake Man couldn't really do much of anything to Bullet, but like Bounce Man can. So it's, you know, it's still interesting to see how like nothing could really quote unquote hurt Bullet until like the end of the film where Luffy's in Bound Man. So I do think that that could be a cool, interesting new idea of a special attack to include him like just taking hits and then releasing it back in a way. So I think that'd be pretty cool. But with that being said, that's it on Douglas Bullet. He's a really cool character, like very cool design. Again, but he's very simple. He's very simple and straightforward if you don't include his actual devil fruit, but including it does give some interesting possibilities to his actual mechanics in the game. So I do think he'll be a speed type that would convert into a sky type with the new form change. But let me know what you all think about Bullet coming to Pirate Warriors 4, if he does come to Pirate Warriors 4, if he comes to Pirate Warriors 5 with a brand new mechanic that we may never have seen before. So let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. If I missed anything, feel free to comment down below as well. If I missed anything with Bullet, you know, I did scrub through the film and tried to pick out every single time he fought and like talked and everything like that. So just to get an idea of obviously the type of character he is and what his capabilities are. But if I missed anything, let me know for sure in the comment section, and I'll see you all in the next moveset video, or just in general Pirate Warriors 4 video. Peace out, everybody.